It was a house that could have belonged to royalty. Walls draped in the warmth of sunlight, chandeliers casting flecks of gold on polished marble, and windows so tall they seemed to touch the clouds. But within its grandeur lived a silence that felt heavier than stone. In one corner of the vast living room sat a little girl, her legs motionless, her eyes as still as a winter lake. She was the daughter of one of the richest men in the city, a man whose name opened doors, moved markets, and silenced boardrooms. Yet all his money, influence, and power had failed him in the one place it mattered most. His little girl had never walked. Doctors from across the world had flown in, each armed with credentials, confidence, and complex treatments, but left with the same shaking of heads and quiet sighs. Her condition was rare, they said. Permanent, they believed. The man could buy the stars if he wanted, but he couldn't buy her first steps. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the miracles that happen when hearts care more than wealth ever could, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kidness Corner. Your support helps keep stories of hope and humanity alive for the world to see. Her name was Alara. She was 7 years old, with hair the color of dark honey and eyes that seemed to carry the sadness of someone who had lived far beyond her years. Her wheelchair had become her world, her throne, her prison. She loved to watch birds from the balcony, but never once chased them. She loved the sound of rain, but had never splashed in puddles. And her father, Daniel Harlow, would stand at the doorway sometimes, his hands deep in his pockets, staring at her as if he could will her to move. His life was a cycle of business deals and hospital visits, optimism and heartbreak. Somewhere along the way, hope had become something he stopped saying out loud. The new nanny arrived on a gray morning when the rain tapped against the windows like impatient fingers. She wasn't what Daniel expected. He imagined someone older, perhaps with decades of childcare experience, strict in manner and neatly pressed in uniform. Instead, a young woman stood there, hair pulled back in a loose braid, eyes full of life, wearing a sweater with frayed cuffs. Her name was Maya. She didn't flinch at the size of the mansion or the intimidating air of its owner. She simply walked in, kneeled beside Alara, and said hello in a tone so gentle it sounded like the start of a lullaby. From that first moment, Daniel noticed something different. Alara didn't look away, as she usually did with strangers. She watched Maya. Maya's days didn't follow the rigid schedule of therapists or the cautious movements of previous caretakers. She brought in sunlight in the form of silly songs, unpolished laughter, and the faint scent of cinnamon from cookies she baked herself. She never spoke of walking. She never asked Alara to try. Instead, she painted worlds in her mind, castles made of clouds, forests where deer could speak, seashells that whispered secrets. Sometimes she would lie flat on the carpet with Alara, staring at the ceiling, telling stories that made the little girl forget she was in a wheelchair at all. But Daniel didn't understand. At first, he thought Maya was wasting time. This wasn't therapy, it was child's play. He reminded her gently, then firmly, that he was paying for results. Maya only smiled faintly and told him that sometimes, before you can teach someone to move their feet, you have to teach them to move their heart. He didn't like vague answers. Yet he couldn't deny the subtle changes. Alara's laughter returning in soft ripples, her eyes brighter, her shoulders less hunched. Weeks passed, and one autumn morning, Daniel came home earlier than usual. As he stepped through the doorway, the air in the living room felt alive. Sunlight streamed through the glass, painting gold across the floor. And then he saw it, Maya lying on her back, her legs raised in the air like a playful bridge, with Alara standing on her shins supported by Maya's steady hands. The girl's knees trembled, her toes gripped tightly, but she was upright. Daniel's breath caught. It wasn't walking, not yet, but it was more than he had ever seen. Alara was grinning, wild, unstoppable joy pouring from her as if she'd been holding it in for years. For a moment, time forgot to move. The truth was, Maya had been preparing her for weeks, not by demanding steps but by weaving strength into her play. Balancing games, core exercises disguised as laughter, teaching her body to trust itself again. She didn't tell Daniel because she knew he measured progress in milestones, while she measured it in moments. And now, here it was, a moment that could shatter despair. In the days that followed, Maya pushed gently, always stopping before frustration could set in. Step by step, supported at first, then less so. The first time Elara moved without holding anything, Daniel found himself sinking to the floor, unable to speak, his eyes burning. It wasn't about wealth anymore. It was about the sound of her bare feet tapping against the hardwood. A sound he once believed he would never hear. On the afternoon she took her first walk across the room. There was no audience, no cameras, no doctors. Just Maya, kneeling with open arms, and Daniel frozen in place, afraid to blink in case it broke the spell. Elara walked not steadily, but determinedly into Maya's embrace. Daniel knew then that money hadn't given his daughter this gift. Love had, patience had, and the courage to believe in something unseen had. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your engagement helps keep stories of hope alive for those who need them most. Before you go, I have one special request. Please comment below with what this story made you feel. Your words might be the light someone else needs today.